For protest groups like Extinction Rebellion, the time for talking is over. But campaigner and sustainability consultant Serena Solanki from Leicester worries that their tactics are alienating people whose perspectives are desperately needed.
My name is Serena Solanki. I'm 24 years old and I'm currently working in sustainability, and I'm also an activist.
Our duty to act on behalf of the security and well-being of our children.
We saw Extinction Rebellion take the streets of London in April, and it was enormous. I guess I just started to ask questions about why is it that in climate activism today we only see a majority of white middle-class faces when climate change is such an international issue that is going to affect us all. What narrative is being told? Who's influencing that narrative? Whose stories are a part of that narrative? What different perspectives are we hearing as well?
No more coal, no more oil!
Keep your carbon in the soil!
No more coal!
Right now I'm at the Leicester Youth Climate Strike, and this is the 8th time they're on strike in Leicester today.
Emre got involved in the climate movement a year ago after watching one of Greta Thunberg's speeches.
But global warming is happening, even though it may not feel like it right now. We want measures to stop climate change that restore justice and ensure justice for people all over the world. Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like! I'm just looking around, Imran, and you seem to be the only brown person here. Why do you think that is?
And there are a few, but it's definitely true that the climate movement has diversity problems. It is primarily dominated by white people and by a certain class of white people, so middle class people. So actually it's sort of a vicious cycle that the movement is perceived as being very white and not really for us. And so lots of people I talk to say, well, I agree with what you're saying, but I wouldn't want to come along because it's not really our scene.
There's lots of passionate people here, and there's so much energy. What's alarming is the lack of diversity that's here, considering we're in Leicester, the most diverse city in the whole of the UK.
Last year, Leicester City Council declared a climate emergency.
Our world is burning, and we need you, every one of you, to take action.
Today, they're holding a youth climate assembly.
We've got schools from all over the city here today.
One of the speakers is a hero of mine. Judy Ling Wong is the UK director of the Black Environment Network.
We need to ask government to do things, and you need to ask organisations, businesses, schools, everything.
What are environmental groups like XR currently missing in their activism?
I think that sometimes activism tends to be very slogan-driven. You know, our earth is going up in smoke, the end of the world and all that, instead of getting a more in-depth sort of message and story which really engages people. So the social dimension, the cultural dimension, and the economic dimension has to come to the fore inside the story of the environment being destroyed.
We do stuff about the environment, but like a lot of people aren't that interested, so we need to find more ways to get more people interested.
We don't have that preset mindset, like we have that sort of fluidity in our thoughts almost, and we have that capacity to change, and we can be that vehicle for change.
Young people are really engaged, and it's so inspiring to see, to hear them thinking about the future and what it means for the future of generations as well. I don't think we've really had conversations like this in history, really, and it's given me a lot to think about.
Judy's advice is that climate activists need to engage with people's daily lives, which is why I've jumped into a taxi.
This is actually the best car I've ever driven.
Leicester's first electric black cab is blue on the outside,
green on the inside.
It's electric, it's not causing a lot of pollution, it's fast.
Kashmir Gill is testing the cab for Leicester City Council, but going green costs. This cab was £67,000.
What do you think about the climate protesters who are blocking the roads?
Well, I don't think that's any good. That doesn't do any good to anybody. Because blocking the roads, doing a protest, you're creating more pollution.
Do you worry about the future, your grandchildren and the community?
Of course, yeah, of course we worry about that. Climate change is going to make a big effect on everybody, family, community, everybody.
Back at the office, I find Kashmir's not alone.
How many of you have a hybrid car?
We all have hybrid car, yeah.
Amazing. And why did you swap?
I think to help climate change, really, you know.
Save on fuel as well. It's half the cost of fuel. The biggest cost to a taxi driver is fuel.
The last 2 years, we are suffering for more flooding in our place, Kerala. India, we have a lot of suffering. A lot of people die. That's why I like the hybrid car.
Extinction Rebellion Leicester and the Red Rebels are starting to get noticed in the city. But how are they doing on diversity?
I'm here to visit XR Leicester to talk about a potential workshop in the future as I reach out to different organisations and activist groups to explore the issues around diversity. Hey, I am.
I'm very pleased to meet you.
Do you like to come and have a seat? Okay, thanks. I guess I could just quickly introduce myself and let you know who I am and what's my relation to Leicester. We all come from different communities, we all have different histories, and I feel like the whole climate crisis is an opportunity to bring all of those narratives together. The only way that we're going to be able to achieve this change is if we are standing in solidarity with the people who need solidarity.
I feel like ethnic minorities are not being put at the forefront of the campaign, as well as working class people, which is a real shame because we're the ones that are going to be disproportionately affected by climate change.
I think it's a conversation we need to have. It's a conversation that we've been having in Leicester for a while.
Fascinating, necessary. I'm grateful that she came.
I would really like to run a workshop in the future with XR Leicester to explore these issues with them a little bit more. They seemed really engaged with wanting to understand it.
Thinking about climate change, I still have more questions than answers. I'm just one person, and the challenge is so huge.
We now stand at a unique point in our planet's history. One where we must all share responsibility, both for our present well-being and for the future of life on Earth.
There's a lot of grief and there's a lot of anger. How did we get here?
Every one of us has the power to make changes and make them now.
The grief comes from always reading the facts and always having to read the science. Change is going to come and we need to embrace it, and we also need to ensure that everyone is a part of it and we are all helping design the solutions.
So what do you think? Do drop us a